February 1969. The 4-10 Boston Patriots went from hapless to hellish. A fresh infusion of managers could not come soon enough. A Patriots news conference was hastily announced, where the Pats' brand new head coach, Cleve Rush, would welcome another new hire, general manager George Sauer. Rush grabbed the microphone to make some opening remarks. Then, all hell broke loose. Rush could not let go of the microphone. He screamed and stammered toward the corner of the conference room, facing certain electrocution before horrified reporters.
And if somebody hadn't pulled the plug out of the wall, they would have had a coach DOA on delivery. I mean, true story. That was the first thing.
The second thing was that despite Rush's survival, nothing improved for the Rush-Sauer duo in '69. The Pats lost the first 7 games of another ghastly season. Both men would skip town within months. Team president Billy Sullivan desperately resolved to look for a leader who could finally eradicate this unceasing curse. (1971), the Baltimore Colts won Super Bowl V, an offensive steamroller of a team with a rabidly loyal blue-collar fan base. The Colts' young personnel director, 32-year-old Upton Bell, hailed from football royalty. His father, Bert Bell, ruled the National Football League as its commissioner for 13 years and navigated 12 teams through some very dark days, saving the NFL from self-destructing more times than the football faithful ever knew. Sullivan, a former PR virtuoso who headed an unruly band of investors, immediately offered Upton Bell the job of Patriots general manager at $45,000 a year.
Well, I made it with a lot of shock therapy.
At his welcoming news conference in Boston, Bell, unaware of the near-death scare years before, was told not to touch the mic. He then told the room of skeptical reporters that the Patriots team would be entirely rebuilt into a winner.
Somebody, the first writer, at that time, the Patriots weren't considered big. The New York Football Giants were still it here, and the Boston Herald had a full-time writer covering the Giants, not the Patriots. So he raised his hand and he said, "Mr. Bell, why would anybody who came from a great organization ever want to come here?" That was my first question. From then on in, it was semi-downhill. Essentially, I mean, there were so many factions here. There were 4 or 5 major owners, and there was a board of directors. And actually, I had finally gotten a phone at home and gave my number to all of them, but when it rang, I never picked it up. So I would avoid all of the cross-fighting and all of the problems. And Billy Sullivan and I didn't get along at all. In the end, it was a fight over wanting to get rid of the coach, but a bigger fight in that Sullivan didn't like all the publicity I was getting. I was just trying to build a championship team, and we sold the stadium out. We were doing well.
Selling stadiums out. The Boston Patriots were essentially homeless, laughable vagabonds of the NFL. Tickets were made for Patriots home games at Boston University's Nickerson Field, Boston College's Alumni Stadium, Fenway Park on Yawkey Way, and Harvard Stadium.
They turn for home. Windsock, Missile, and Jack Supat battling for the lead.
Hope for the Patriots' permanent dream home finally came from the owners of a harness racing track 30 miles south of Boston in the sleepy town of Foxboro. They donated the acreage to Billy Sullivan in order to keep the team in New England. Construction for the new stadium was already underway. Sullivan, desperate to keep things under budget, cut corners everywhere he could. His low-cost approach would soon come back to haunt him. He did, however, find a company willing to pay $150,000 to give the stadium its name.
Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
More than one, of course, is a prime diuretic. And here's where Sullivan's miserly gambit flunked.
We're now opening a new stadium in Foxboro, put together with stringing wire. The toilets and the plumbing didn't work because where the stadium is built, the water can't run uphill. So they call the owners, there's about 10 of them, and myself, and we go out on a Saturday. NFL Films that happened to be there because they wanted to, shoot for the game. Here we are. And they get on the loudspeaker system and they go, 1, 2, 3, flush. And everybody flushes at the same time and the toilets work, at least for the time being. They hadn't figured that if you're going to have 30,000 cars coming down a slim Route 1, that you could have a traffic jam. It ended up being the largest traffic jam in Massachusetts history. There's still cars out there.
By this time, Sullivan had had it. So had Bell. After 2 years as the Patriots' general manager, Upton Bell was fired.
But one thing you learned in life, they're owners and they're renters. I was a renter. And you're always going to be in the NFL today. If you don't own a team, you are a renter. The renter got thrown out of his apartment by Sullivan. That's the bottom line.
But not before Upton Bell left an everlasting hallmark. They were first known as the Boston Patriots, then the Bay State Patriots.
Somebody like Bud Collins or somebody else said, of course they could be called the BS Patriots. And when I saw that, they were also making fun of Sullivan because he was BS, Billy Sullivan. I immediately, that week, got in touch with all the owners and I said, listen, we're moving to Foxboro. We're going to be in the middle of New England between Providence and Boston. I propose let's name them the New England Patriots. It's one of the few things I got pushed through. They agreed with it, and that's why they're called that today.
Today, the ticket machines need no more calibration. And a team name change is highly unlikely. That's no BS.
A lot of people, Dan Shaughnessy knows it, few other people know it, but they don't know that I did name the team the New England Patriots. I got my pound of flesh.
For ACMI News, I'm Jeff Barnes.